Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Sinclair. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Deflektor.
Deflektor, spelled cool guy style, boat.
Aaron, let me ask you a question.
Yeah, okay, please.
Do you have an irrational fear of mirrors?
No, sir.
Because I do.
The problem is, I've got a rational fear of mirrors.
Yeah.
Being so hideous and all.
Well,
it's quite rational.
You say that, but I've always had an irrational. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is completely rational because maybe one day I will look in a mirror and I will see something behind me, and then I'll look back and it won't be there. That's always freaked me out, like when that happens in movies and junk. Do you remember the movie Watcher in the Woods?
Now that you mention that, the title rings a bell, but I don't know if I've ever seen it.
This was in the late 70s when Disney was really in a hard place financially, and they were trying all kinds of wacky stuff to stay afloat. This is when the black hole and all that stuff came out.
Saw that in the theater.
And they tried their hand at a horror film. Disney actually produced a horror film. It was called Watcher in the Woods. This thing is the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. It was so frightening to see this as a child, and I will not watch it again.
So it was a kid's horror film?
It was a kid's horror film. Yeah. Live action, not animated. It kind of has that same vibe as, did you ever watch Escape to Witch Mountain or any of those?
Yeah, okay. I did see those.
You know how those were a little freaky all by themselves. But but anyway, yeah, I've never liked looking in mirrors. Like, it's just like, or if you do the thing in the bathroom where you have the medicine cabinet door and you open it up and then you see like 8 of yourself. Whenever I do that, whenever I open the medicine cabinet, I look away. I can't handle it.
You ever been in one of those hall of mirrors?
No, God, no. That sounds like the worst thing in the world.
We went to this place called we went to this museum in Carolina Beach, I believe it was. I think it was the Museum of the Bizarre. I think is what it was called. And they had it wasn't a huge museum, but amongst the things they had was a hall of mirrors. And the boy was scared, but I made him go because that's what I did.
Yeah.
And so we went into the hall of mirrors. And then once we were in there, because I know it wasn't a very big hall of mirrors, but I wanted to get my money's worth because it was like $10 a piece to go into this thing. They were hosing you. Plus, you had to pay to get in.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got in there, I grabbed Luke and spun him around a bunch of times, and then just watched him careen off the walls. It was good. That was good. That was good time.
The Hall of Mirrors is always handy for your superhero adventures. The chase always ends up in a Hall of Mirrors. It just has to.
It's funny how often like TV shows and movies use that old trope. Mm-hmm. It's been done on Twilight Zone.
You'd think that every town would have 3 or 4 Hall of Mirrors in it, just with the regularity that these things pop up.
Really? I mean, how often do you even see a Hall of Mirrors? They must have been much more prevalent back in the 50s.
Cannon Park never had a Hall of Mirrors.
No.
You really have to go to more of a Myrtle Beach type place, I think, to run.
Cannon Park didn't even have a working mirror in the bathroom.
What do you think about the Cannon Park haunted house, Aaron?
That is tremendous. And you see, you're mocking it.
I'm not mocking it. I know. Tell us about it.
It is one of only 2 functioning zero gravity rides of its type, like in the United States.
Yeah.
It's a incredibly rare treat, and the highlight of that whole park. Now, that much said, you're going to sit in a little car and go through this thing, and it's not the least bit scary. It's the same crap they've been doing for years. But it's the actual fact that it still works is quite amazing. But it's
like most things at Cannon Park. The fact that they still function is amazing.
They put my kid on that when his auntie took him to Cannon Park, and they said he was so scared he couldn't believe it. Like when he got out of there. Mm-hmm. So he's like you, Bo. Yeah. Like watching a wood would kill him.
Kindred spirits, me and the Luke.
He couldn't hang out. Yeah, he didn't function well with that sort of thing. But yeah, it's a cool ride. But again, no Hall of Mirrors, no reflective surface of any type because they've got all that glow-in-the-dark fluorescence and stuff, and that's what makes it more fun.
Yeah.
Great. Have you been on that thing in the past 20 years?
No. The last time I was on it was probably 1994 when we went in middle school.
Yeah.
But I still remember that there is a part of it where you come out. The ride is not over, but you emerge into the light and you go down the loop and then back in
on the upper porch.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
while since we're talking about mirrors, I'm going to deflect the topic.
Ooh, good. Right? I like it.
And let's talk about lasers.
Okay.
All right. Lasers were a big deal when I was a kid. All right. Mm-hmm. Like now nobody cares. No. Right. But when you saw a laser, like that was the coolest thing you'd ever seen. And when you found out they were real, it was even more stunning. I remember going to the Sternwheel Regatta in Charleston, and they would have scheduled laser light shows up in the sky.
I remember hearing that was a thing,
If they would draw like 800 kabillion people, the interstates would be lined with cars, so people could watch lasers, shoot around.
Now, would they have to like fog up the valley for the lasers to be seen?
Well, that's when we had we had a lot of coal burning back in them days.
So it was just natural fogging up.
There was a haze that sort of hung over the valley.
Yeah.
Now it's a chemical haze, but back then it was a coal induced.
Ah, I see.
They weren't drawing crap boats. These were just lasery. I mean, you ever been to a concert or something where they shot a bunch of lasers off?
Yeah.
It was that technology, except 10 years earlier. It wasn't anything great. I remember going with the folks. Now, what they would do is they could put up like a white blank billboard sized thing under the bridge, and then they could make it look like they were writing stuff on it or having shapes come up on it.
Kind of like a vector graphics type thing, right?
Sort of, yeah. Like this was a big deal. I remember watching a wrestling show one time where they took lasers and spelled out like Starcade or something, and that was like everybody was like, "Oh, we're in the future."
Now, were you ever a player of laser tag?
I was, yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, me and my buddy Wes and Rich and the Chud would go to a laser tag joint in Lexington and play. That was pretty advanced. They had a big arena and stuff. But I also had that. Remember the laser tag game from when you were a kid?
I do. I have a story about that.
Oh, okay.
So when I was a kid, my dad was a carbiter. And back in...
He was a what?
A carbiter.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, it means he worked for Union Carbide.
Chemical plant.
Yeah, and they used to have these insane Christmas parties in the 80s, back when Carbide still was
a monster.
Right. And they would take the kids into this room, and of course I was a kid, so my memory may be slightly less than accurate, but in my mind it looked like Toys R Us. Like there were no shelves, but it was like the outer walls of this room were like a Toys R Us. And they would say, okay, pick something. And you could pick anything you wanted. Every kid could pick one thing that they wanted. And one year I got a laser tag set. And this was the official branded laser tag set. And it came with one gun and one sensor. Okay?
Yeah.
And so that's
how they get you.
One thing that I learned was that the fun runs out pretty soon when you've got one gun and one sensor.
We had a couple of these things. In fact, now somewhere in this room is a laser tag pistol. But the fun really runs out when you're getting shot a lot and you suddenly determine that you can do this. Over the sensor, and you'll never lose again.
Physically blocking the sensor with your hand, yes.
That kind of takes the fun. Now, what we needed, we could reenact Deflektor. We needed a mirror, and that's the bummer about lasers in the real world. You can't see them.
Yeah. If they ever figure that out, then I'll be laughing. I can't wait for that day. That's when when we get real lightsabers too.
That'll be cool, man. That'll be cool.
That's when life gets real.
We'll cut each other in half.
Yeah, we
pretty
will.
Quick. You get angry, Boat. The first time I screw something up, I'll be a dead man. I'll be like Greedo in the cantina. You'll have to go back and re-edit the footage to make it look like I struck first, Boat.
I'm good at that. I do it all the time. All right, Aaron, let's talk Deflektor.
Oh, yeah, there's a game.
There is a game.
This game, now, Boat, I think I can speak for both of us when I say I've never heard of this. Deflektor spelled cool guy style with K.
It's like a Masters of the Universe villain.
That is. 1987, Boat. It was 2 years before I graduated from high school.
It was a glorious time for you.
It was.
You were 16 years old.
Yeah, man. God, that's hard to believe. Published by our good pals over at Gremlin, Boat. Mm-hmm. We all know Gremlin. They did a bunch of stuff. So, authored by Vortex Software. Cool name, Boat.
Yeah.
It's the Vortex. Now, I looked up some of the stuff they did. Here's one we got to try, Boat. Alien Highway.
Oh,
yeah.
I like both those things.
They also did a game called Android 1 and 2. They did a game, and this is one of those ones where there's dots in between the letters. It's just called Hard.
Wow.
And they did another one with the dots in between the letters just called Hate.
They were pursuing a theme here.
That's right. And they did Triad, Quartet, and Astral Convoy. We got ourselves an Astral Convoy.
We do have a great big convoy.
We're going to look back into these guys. Yeah. This was written by Costa Pena. Hard to say. Mm-hmm. He worked on a lot of the stuff I just mentioned. Plus, he did a game called Crash, Pontoon, Word, Mastermind, and Othello. So this guy had that kind of mind.
Yeah, a puzzle-type mind.
Music on this was Ben Daglish. He worked on a ton of stuff. The Mask games. Mm-hmm. Remember Mask, Boat?
I think we talked about this on the Discord.
Yeah.
In fact, in 1987, I celebrated my 6th birthday with a Mask birthday party.
That wasn't your picture I saw up in
there.
That
was my picture. I was wearing the Mask mask.
Geeky,
and you know who was next to me at the table? David Bowling.
No. Man.
Yeah.
You guys were geeking that thing up. He also worked on Pac-Mania, one of my personal favorites, Techno Cop. If you'll remember that one. Cop. He also worked on Gauntlet 1 and the sort of in-between 1 and 2 one as well. So this game was for the 48K. Now, Boat, right off the gate, let's talk about this. Let's get this before I even go any further. You fire this game up. I was sitting there with the kid, all right? I was playing this. I was brushing up on this morning, mm-hmm. and this game comes up, and this music, and I use music in its most experimental sense when I say this. This thing comes up, and I'm not saying the music's bad, but this music doesn't play; it growls. It comes out of this thing, and it is the most bizarre sounding harmony.
You know what it reminds me of is like the early days of synthesizers when they didn't really know how it worked.
Like Laurie Anderson or something.
Right.
You know, I mean, this came up, and my kid was like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "That's the music to this game." He goes, "Turn it down."
That's the correct response, by the way.
But the thing is, I listen to it, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's
also hideous.
This is the power. It's the musical power of the 48K Spectrum, not often explored.
I know. It's the best hideous music I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. I've never wanted to listen to music and turn off music so much at the same time as the tune for this game. This has the standard interfaces you would expect. Original price in this bad boy was £7.99p. Now, Boat, this had a lot of. Now, this stunned me, Boat. This had a lot of ports. Did you know that?
Yes, because I knew that it at least had an Atari 8-bit port because I've played this on the Atari 8-bit.
Oh, have you? You crazy bum! Mm-hmm. So this got ported to the Amstrad, RST, the C64, the Amiga, mm-hmm. Boat.
Yep.
The NEC, PC 9800, and the Sharp.
Wow.
All got ports of this crazy game. So, and I should also mention, just for fun, I looked up the Vortex software. They were at, maybe this will mean something to you, Boat, 280 Brooklands Road, Manchester.
Well, I know one of those words.
You ever been to Manchester?
I have been to Manchester. It's life in a northern town. It's just like the Pet Shop Boys song.
Is it? So, what is Deflektor, Boat? It's not a super complicated
plot. Yeah, the story's not real complicated in this one.
Not plot. It's the game mechanics aren't super complicated, and then it gets incredibly complicated. You're basically controlling the laser coming out of a laser generation station. Mm-hmm. And your job is to guide the laser through these levels with some reflective mirrors and surfaces to knock out all these little obstacles and to eventually link up with the other side of your laser, your receiver, to complete basically a circuit.
Right.
Does that make any sense?
That was a great explanation.
And, of course, it's not as simple as just hit some surfaces, bing, bang, boom, and then hook it up. You've got crap in your way. Now, I wanted to ask you straight away, Boat. I don't know how far you got in this. We didn't talk. We never talk about this stuff. Why did they make, and this is my opinion, I want to get your response. Why did they make the first level so freaking hard in this game? Because because I did eventually get past it, and then I thought the next couple levels were way easier than the first level.
Well,
I couldn't figure out why they would do that.
I think what they wanted to do, I'm trying to be charitable. I think that they wanted to introduce you to all of the things the game could throw at you over the course of the game in the first level. So all of the different sorts of like squares that redirect your laser, they wanted to throw those in there, the reflective walls, all of that stuff. That's my personal theory on why they made the first level the way that they did.
You would agree with me on that?
Yeah, it's different than the tack that a lot of games take, which is like, let's just put one thing at a time and slowly build up.
Yeah.
This game sort of lets you have it all at once from the beginning.
I would have preferred the one thing at a time. Mm-hmm. Like for the first level, it should be as simple as you hitting some mirrors, tilting them, and then winning. Right. That's what I want. I want games. Recent games have made me a puss. I want instant gratification, and I want to feel like I'm a success right away.
Absolutely.
But this game made me struggle. It struggled to the point where I had to go watch another sucker do it to get past certain things because I was such a dumb guy.
I absolutely had to do that from level 1.
Now, did you play this with the joystick or the keyboard?
I played with the joystick, man.
Okay, I played this with the keyboard, as I often do. The controls on this are pretty wacky. I had to go look. I had to print the docs, both, such as they are. So on the keyboard, to control you to move. So what you do here? Let's try. I'm going to try to explain this a little better if you haven't played this before. What you have control of effectively a cursor. A square block that goes around, and when you put that cursor in certain areas, you take control of like the mirror, for example, in it. So you move the cursor around with the Q and A buttons for up and down, and the K and L for left and right, and then there's a select M. So if I need to shoot my laser to mirror, and I need to make that mirror turn, I will move my cursor over to that mirror, and then I'll be able to manipulate the mirror. Mm-hmm. Okay. This game. It's a funny game because you wouldn't think you would be under the gun on this thing, but aside from the fact that you have to go through this maze with your laser, there are points in the maze where you can start overloading your laser, and it can happen slowly or quickly depending on what you're shooting. But if it overloads, you die, and so you have to be quick to make sure that doesn't happen.
Right.
And that is a real wrinkle because this game, even without the overload aspect, is a difficult game. It takes a real certain way of thinking, in my mind, to get through a lot of these things. Well, give me your assessment, Boat.
This game is a unique concept for sure. I mean, I've never played another game like it, and it's sort of odd that it's a unique concept because it makes sense. It seems like this is the perfect avenue to explore for a puzzle game. You've got lasers, you've got mirrors. Everybody knows that lasers bounce off mirrors. I think that the execution of this game is well done. I think that the different things that affect your mirrors, they didn't try and throw too many things at you. I mean, you do have to kind of figure out what does what, but after you do that, then you sort of know. Where this game falls short is that they throw too many obstacles in the way of success outside of the actual game mechanics themselves. So, for example, okay, you have to manage. It's not enough to just be able to negotiate your laser to the end of the level. You have to worry about your energy. You've got a sort of a meter where you can run out of power if you hit a mine or something like that. Your energy meter also ticks down. It's like a timer. In addition to that, you've got mines. You've got to avoid these mines. If you linger too long on a mine with your laser, the mine will blow up and it's over. You're screwed. Now you do have multiple lives. You've got 3 lives, so that's good. You've got I don't think that necessarily that the levels are like that first level. Of course, it was crazy that it asked you to do that many things on level 1. But I would have felt like the game wasn't cheating me if if I didn't have the timer and the energy and all that stuff. To me, this game would have been so much better if they would have just given me the puzzles and not given me so many different ways to fail.
I understand what you're saying. First of all, I want to agree with you. This is an incredibly original concept. Now, I've played games where they sort of use the old reflective laser gimmick, but it's usually just a little side part of an overall game. No one has explored. No game that I've played has explored this kind of concept like this game, and they really. And this is also runs perfectly on the spectrum. Looks great, sounds great, everything. I mean, it fits the platform perfectly, so there's no problem there, even musically. There is a lot going on sometimes, and there's no doubt. You're right. It's got the timer, plus it's got the overload, plus you've got the stuff to blow up. There's a lot going on. I will say, once I got past the first level, I was certainly well armed for the next 4 or 5 levels. So I mean, I will say, if you can get past the first level, you'll get to the 6th level.
And I like the fact that they did give you the things to blow up, that it's not just getting from point A to point B, and you don't have to blow up all the purple things. I don't think. I think all you have to do is just get to the other receiver, but it gives you an opportunity to raise your score. It's the secret for a lot of games where it's just like, give me multiple things, multiple ways to succeed.
I like one thing this game has. When you start the game up, it has an option called practice. They'll let you practice a level, try to figure out what you're doing without actually having to worry about overloading or any of that stuff. And I ran through that before I actually played the game. It's also got a thing called demo, and the demo will let you see every level. I believe there are 60 levels, Bo, as I recall, in the demo. And some of the levels are insane. I mean, truly insane. And if you watch a playthrough, you'll see some of them. They're crazy. But this is a game I could sort of get into. I kind of wish that it had a more laid back. I think what you said sort of hit it for me. I could do without the timer. I don't mind the overload thing so much for that, but I mean, I would like to not have to be in a hurry. Right. Where I could sit down and try to, because these games don't come easily to me, where I can just sit down and look at them and be like, oh, and manipulate this stuff.
I thought you were going to go into the Baseball Stars theme for a second.
Yeah, baseball. Plus, since I was using the keyboard, I will say the controls were not what I would call the most intuitive.
Well, yeah, that's your own fault for using the keyboard. That's horrible.
But that's the way I prefer to play these games. That's the way I am. But I mean, overall, I thought it was a pretty unique game, and I think I'm not a big puzzle game guy either, as you know, Bo, but this is actually one that I could see myself playing. It's just one of those kind of nutty things that you might want to try. Now, here's a couple things I didn't like. And I read some reviews and even looked at some Discord reviews to confirm this. There's no way to skip to the next level. And so you've got to go back and play, as far as I know. And if you heard otherwise, let me know. But I couldn't find any way. There's nothing in the docs about it.
There's not. I don't think there's a way you can skip levels.
There's no level skip or whatever. And so you've basically got to play through all these levels again. And that's kind of a bummer. I would like to be able to skip to whatever level I wanted to play, especially when you're on 60 levels. And that's one thing I would like to do. So I wasn't keen on the controls. I wasn't keen on the fact that the levels didn't have skips or codes. But overall, I actually kind of enjoyed this game, and I was sure I was going to hate it. When I saw the preview for it, I was like, oh my God, what is this? And I was sure I wouldn't understand it either. So I was actually pretty happy with it, Bo. All things considered, as far as puzzle games go, it's unique and different, and clearly the levels and stuff are set up by people that are quite brilliant. Yeah. Because this isn't the kind of game you can just sort of craft together. I mean, you have to sit down and take some time.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. This one, for me, it's a flawed it's a flawed game that could have been an all-time classic if they just would have made some different design decisions around the game part of the game. The actual puzzle, the mechanic and the levels and the puzzles themselves are great.
Yeah. The prisms and stuff that you hit and the things that affect the laser in different ways are interesting.
Yeah, and it's very satisfying to hit one of those rotating blocks and see your laser go pew, 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 in all the directions and blow up all the purple things. I mean, that's very cool.
I think this game could. This is a game that you could easily see making a comeback. Someone should rip this thing off immediately and do something. And maybe they have, But you could. And the thing is, this is the kind of game you could play with, you could play with it with your touching. You could touch stuff, like on a phone, and it would work. I think this is one that should absolutely be redone. But kudos to the guys for coming up with it. Like I said, if they stole this, I've never seen it before. And if this is an original concept, someone needs to steal it from them.
I agree.
I couldn't find. There were none of these listed currently on eBay, but I did find. Oh, get this boat. Here's something that's going to interest you. And this ties into your Atari. Now that I think about it, it makes perfect sense. So I was looking at something on eBay. I couldn't find any of the Spectrum tapes, both. But I did find someone. I found someone selling the C64 version, and someone was hawking an unreleased XEG card of this game.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, $40 he wanted for it. And he said that's his words, not mine. But because when you told me, because you noticed I didn't read here, the Atari 8-bit wasn't listed on the platform.
Well,
so there must be an unreleased Atari 8-bit version or Atari XEG version sitting out there somewhere. I can
tell you this: that on my flash cart, there is a very famous site where people go through and they make there's a whole folder full of games that are XEGS games that have been recoded specifically for my flash cart, and I think it's one of those. So I think this game was in the pipeline for being developed for the XEGS and maybe just never got released.
So you tried this on the 8-bit before?
Yeah, man.
Do you recall how it plays?
It plays exactly like this. I think the colors look better, on the Spectrum for sure. All of the pastels and everything looks great. But I mean, overall, it's identical. It's an identical game.
Did it have the music? Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
I did look some reviews up on this boatster. World of Spectrum gives us an 8.28. CVG gave this a 10 out of 10 boat. Ace gave this, of course, some of these scores are these are supposed to all be for Spectrum, but Ace gave this basically a 90. Your Sinclair gave it a 9 out of 10. This thing was included in the top 100 games list in '88. This was on the list of greatest games of all times that came out in '91 from Ace. So this is widely regarded as it got great reviews and is regarded as a sort of almost a masterpiece. Boat. Did we get anything in the Discord?
We did. We've got, let's see, FrodoNL writes, interesting puzzle game that could have been amongst my favorites had it not been for the lack of level passwords, meaning one always had to start from the first level. Playing in an emulator, one can of course save snapshots, which makes this less of an issue. This means I feel I need to give 2 scores. On original hardware, 7.5 out of 10, and an emulator, 8.5 out of 10. I think that's fair. Pixels at Dawn says, a unique puzzle game with some of the best music I've heard on the 48K Spectrum and some very colorful graphics. It's a simple, fun premise and offers a good slice of challenge. It could have been quite the chilled experience, but the designers chose to add an energy bar timer, a laser overload mechanic, and annoying mirror moving enemies that add a sense of panic, frustration, and sheer anger respectively. The barrier to entry is pretty high too, with the first level being harder than the following 10. It's a real shame because this could have been a great game if it had just kept things simple and concentrated on the puzzle, and with maybe a score attack mechanic instead of a timer. A disappointing 6.5 out of 10. I feel like that's every game with a timer. Like, make a different mode with a timer, or give me something like, let me complete the stage in my time, but give me additional rewards if I do it. A bonus is always better than a timer.
That review was almost exactly what I mean. First of all, I'm glad to see because I always worry when I already look at the reviews or anything before I talk on the show, but I'm always worried about sounding like a complete idiot. And I had so much more trouble with the first level. I'm so glad that I'm not the only one. It really took me a while to wrap my head around the concept of this game. I sat there and just looked at it for about 10 minutes, just trying to figure out what in the hell I was looking at. But yeah, I agree with all that. Plus, I do like the idea of you're dead on, Bode. We're agreeing more than usual this week, but getting rid of that timer, having a more chilled experience, that's what I like in a puzzle game. I wouldn't mind it so much if I wasn't under the gun. I don't like that.
Me neither. All right, Aaron. Well, as we wrap things up, we should thank all of the people that support us on the Patreon. We want to thank Mark Downey, Hermski, Andrew Waite, Cap'n Crispy, Laurent Giroux, Gary Heather, Eric Nelson, Harbonaut, Graham W. Bebke, FrodoNL, Tapes from the Crypt, Pixels at Dawn, Chris Foulds, Paul Bossman Harrington, and Christopher Hassel. Thank you guys so much. We also want to thank the poor souls who are attempting to watch us on Twitch right now. Apparently things are going haywire over in Twitch land, and we're getting almost no traction over there. So we apologize for that. But we do record this show. We attempt to record this show every Friday. So feel free to join us on Twitch if you'd like. Next.
One
sure,
thing,
man.
Bode, because we mentioned this earlier, for those of you that don't listen to our other shows, we are running a little contest right now on our CoCo show, which is a show dedicated to the TRS-80 color computer. But everyone that listens to all of our shows are more than invited to participate. We are giving away a copy of Gunstar, the new TRS-80 color computer game. Fresh in the shrink, brand new, just came out a month ago. And to be entered in the contest to receive this game for free, all you've got to do is give the CoCo show an iTunes review. We would appreciate it. And once you drop us a review, you're entered in the contest, and we'll pick one at random. And whoever wins will be sending for free Gunstar for the CoCo. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show. Next week, Aaron. Oh, we want to thank boss man himself, Paul Harrington, for choosing Deflektor for us.
Yeah, good game. I enjoyed it.
Next week, we're going to play a game called Minder. Minder,
okay.
Paul, a.k.a. Hermski, has suggested this. Clive's Club member, Paul, a.k.a. Hermski. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate you guys for listening to us. We will see you next week. Until then, rewind tape.
And press play.